Good day to our friends in retail and allied industries. Welcome again to the 2021 edition of Let's Talk Retail, a digital initiative of the Philippine Retailers Association. We have a series we started a series called Generations. Last November, we had the Claudios, Bobby and Toby of Toby Sports. This episode, we're going to feature a father and daughter team. That's going to be very interesting. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can get Let's Talk Retail podcasts on demand. Let's get to this conversation. Our first guest, he is the founder and chairman, Emeritus of Wilcon Depot, the Philippines' leading home improvement and construction supply retailer. He started his business venture in 1977 when he built his first hardware store along Quezon Avenue, and it's still there. He graduated from the University of Santo Tomas with a degree in engineering. I looked at his profile, multi-awarded businessman. He has his passion projects, included our La Mesa Protecta Hector, Rodriguez Community Center, and the Red Cross. He is also part of an NGO that helps preserve and protect crocodiles in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. William Belo. Our second guest took up creative writing in UP. She joined the family business in 2000 under the guidance of the company's founder, Mr. William T. Belo. She moved from IT to operations to finance, becoming the CFO, which made her lead the IPO of Wilcon Depot in March 2017. She has made it to the Forbes Emerging 25, the women making their mark in Asia's enterprises, and the only Filipina in that list. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ms. Lorraine Belo-Cincochan, President and CEO of Wilcon Depot. Hi, Mr. Belo, and hi, Lorraine. Thank you for joining us today. Good day to Mr. Belo, and good day, Lorraine. Nice to have you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Let's start off with Mr. Belo. You started your business more than 40 years ago. What got you into the business? Were you doing something else before Wilcon?
Well, actually, this all started when I was just finishing high school, actually.
Okay.
In 68, I was finishing high school and starting to get into college. So one night I was talking to my father, and I was telling him that because my father actually is in the grocery line of business, and I tell him he was asking me what kind of business you wanted to get into, or you wanted to be professional. So I tell him that I would rather be doing a small business on my own,
Okay.
into be a professional. No? So he tell me, okay, if you wanted to, then you try to see if you wanted to go into, say, grocery, similar to the one I'm doing, or we have a small, we have a small hardware store, partnering with someone. No, it's not my father is running it, but my father has a friend. They put up a small hardware store in Alonso, where my father was just a silent partner. So thinking that your grocery, during that time in the 60s, the time, it's a very time consuming. No, people, or the store has to open at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and then they would close at around 9 in the evening. No? So very long, and even up to Sundays you have to work on that. While hardware, basically you work on from 8 o'clock up to around 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and then on Sunday you close. So I say I better learn, go into the hardware instead of going to the grocery. No? So that started it, and I say, okay, I'm going to get into college, but would work in the daytime and start my school on the evening. No? So that's what I did. No? I enrolled in UST engineering, work in the day, and go to Alonso. Actually, that time we were staying actually in the Visoria area. Was my father's grocery was in the Visoria area, walking distance from where we stayed. So in the morning, I take a jeep to the Alonso, the one ride fare, only 10 centavos, I think that time. Napakamura, no? So I work from 8 until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then take a bus to UST, no? Another bus ride, only one bus ride to UST. And then by 4:30, I'm in UST. And my class start at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, up until 9 o'clock. Yeah, that's how I do my thing, no? And because I feel that uh, construction disease is one of the major or essential that anyone needs. So aside from food, clothing, shelter is also one of the most important. So I say, then I think the only way that we can do business is to learn it personally, firsthand. So I say, instead of studying full time during my 5 years in college, I would rather work on the day and learn the rudiments of doing the business. No? So that's what I did. And when I started working, I started as a counter salesman, then eventually got to know all the ins and outs, and to eventually get into dealing, talking with suppliers, get to know all the different suppliers, and then gradually I become the overall in charge of the retail operation, you know, from sourcing, buying from suppliers, selling, and handling the whole retail part of the business. That's what I started.
Sir, what was your learning during that phase in your life that you were doing studying and working at the same time? Wasn't that hard to balance?
It's actually not hard. No, it's a, engineering is a technical subject. No, and once you understand what the teacher tells you, actually you don't really need much of your time to do studies and all that, because there's no memorization actually in engineering. No? It's very basically technical. Once you're at school, you just focus, and then you learn from it. And you don't actually, with the 5 years that I spent in engineering, I seldom went to library to do any
Oh,
research.
okay.
Fortunately, I was able to pass all my subjects, and I never failed any of the subjects.
All
No?
right.
But the thing is, I'm not aspiring to be a scholar or to be
Okay.
running for honors or not. As long as I pass my subjects, no, at the reasonable grade, of course, no. Yeah, and I know something, I learned something. That's most important for me. Yeah.
Where did you get the name Wilcon? What was the origin of the name?
From my name, actually, William,
Okay.
and then construction.
Okay.
Even construction. That's why I got it. You know, because at time I'm still single. A lot of small business they started sometime with the husband and wife,
Right.
sometimes with the children. They name it with the names of the husband and wife, or with the children. But in my case, the time I was still single, no. So I just basically using my name in the construction, in which that's the line of business I'm doing.
And then the business just went on for the past 40 years. And I'm going to come back to that later. I want to understand what your learnings were in the past 40 years. Let me go to Lorraine. Lorraine, you took creative writing in UP, and then now you're running a company. You went to different functions. How did you prepare for that?
Hi, CJ. Well, I didn't really have too much of a background, obviously, because I took up creative writing in college. I actually wanted to continue education, like with maybe an MBA or a business course. But at the time when I came into the business, we had just opened our very first depot store.
Okay.
And my father had just put me in charge of helping with the operations of that store. And at the time, MBAs, if you took them, you had to be away for 2 years at
Right,
least.
right.
And it was really a choice between putting up our newest depot type store, 10,000 square meters, or go to school. And obviously the opportunity was there. And so I took it. It was, and kind of the rest is kind of history. But looking back, thinking also that should I have gotten an MBA, should I have gotten a
Right.
business course, I feel that in today's world, the way things are going, I think creativity is also something that is important. Technical skills, obviously, accounting, finance, that's very, very important. But creativity is also something that needs to be highlighted, especially maybe for my fellow retailers who are maybe in a family business. We need to be able to do some creative thinking. Like I remember when we opened our first depot store, we did not accept credit cards. Can you
Okay.
imagine hardware back then in Alonso? You couldn't buy using a credit card, right? You had to pay in cash.
Right.
And then I had that idea that hey, why don't we offer credit card purchases for all our transactions, right? You could buy lumber, you could buy plywood with credit card, with paint,
Right.
right? And so those little creative innovations, those things I think are very important in a business. So I think that really helped me. But at the same time, right now, I know that there's a lot of opportunity for learning, and
Right.
that's something I'm taking advantage of. I listen to podcasts and consider taking online courses. So I feel that now I can better balance my time between working in the company and also learning at the same time.
And turns out learning is very important to you.
Yes, it's very, very important.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Bello, you've been in the business for 40 years. You've seen so many crises, both man-made, natural, political. What were your learnings from each crisis that you had to bring your company through?
Well, Wilcon started during the martial law years.
Right.
Yeah. So we see the best on martial law years, the first few years actually. We feel that that is one of the best actually time to do business in the first 2 3 years. And then things change. So you need to adapt to the different situations that you have. And also that also the time that you have this protectionism is very, very prevalent that time. The duties and taxes on almost everything is so high, between 20, 30, 40%. No? So, and also the Philippines was at that time is not that, we don't have much in the industries or manufacturing facility at that time, especially in the line of construction business. So the big challenge that time is to be able to source enough products or varieties for the consumers. No? So we are very, with the local manufacturing, we are very limited. Like ceramic tiles, we got only 2 to 3 manufacturers. Now sanitary waste basically is a monopoly done by only one factory, the American Standard. No? So the choice is so limited. So the challenge for us at time is we have to source it from outside. No, try to get things to be able to make offer more choices. And thinking in that time, as I said, taxes and everything was so high, and importation was very difficult at time. No, but somehow with all the proper getting all the permits, documentation, we're gradually able to get into all these imports, pay the right taxes, and then eventually be able to be competitive. So that's the trademark of Wilcon now. When you go to Wilcon, you see we offer so many choices, and aside from the local available products or locally manufactured products, we offer alternatives. So that way the customer have a choice. No, but in deep in us, in Wilcon, the culture of Wilcon is to support the local manufacturing, the local industries. No? And that's what we did. Now, whatever we import, it's basically to complement the domestic manufacturers. No? And that's the mantra that we do. And then up to now, that's still the things that we are doing. No? Complement buying products from outside just to complement whatever we have. Whatever it's being produced locally, we will just uh, be a one of the distributor or the dealer to sell for them.
So the buy local mindset was already with you early on.
Yes, yeah.
But with all the crisis, with what were the key learnings, sir? What would you say? How did you survive all these 40 years? What are those traits that you think is very important from entrepreneurs coming from all the things you've experienced in the past for more than 40 years?
Well, in any like you said, yeah, we 77 up until now, we got through so many crises, man-made or natural. No? So we have martial law times. Uh, Practically everything is restricted. No imports and all that things. So the thing is, you just have to learn how to adjust to what is being required, like
Okay.
doing these meetings, doing all these documentations. You just have to really know how to do it. No, and then it's going to be a big problem. And then come the 1997 up to around 2003, 2005, where we had the crisis, the Asian financial crisis, no, that the interest rate from 17 or 15, 17% went up to around 40, 50%. Also, you see a lot of business that went bankrupt. No, a lot of factories, a lot of even retail business that went out of business. But because the thing is, what is important is you really have to know how the market that you have, and you have to always be planned. Always, there's going to be a contingency plan in case something happens. No, that you'll be able to fall up and be able to run the business and continue your business. Like I remember during the Asian financial crisis, that time we are doing simultaneously doing, I think, 60, 70% of our products are imported to complement the domestic product lines. But given that your peso has dropped by as much as double, no? I think from 20 to 24 pesos up to around 50 pesos. So just imagine if you're borrowing US dollar at that time, now buying products on the foreign currency, now the effect of exchange rate will really make you no will definitely eat up your profit margin and all that. No? So the good thing here, we are able to to balance out. We and another business we usually go with credit. No? In our case, we try to do partly credit, partly payment immediate outright. No? So anything that we already bought, we pay them. So it's already closed. So whatever exchange rate fluctuations, we don't get affected. So these are things that you really have to look at, to be able to survive. Because otherwise, once you get into, and even getting the loans, bank loans, imagine from a 15%, 18, 17% interest a month, which is actually very high compared to what we are now paying. It's down to 3 to 4%. And it went up to as high as 50%. So that unless you really balance all things out, you cannot survive, no matter how good the profit margin that you can. We
Okay.
see people going out of business.
Thank you for sharing that. And now go to Lorraine. You joined in 2002. So your crisis that you went through pre-pandemic included a 2008 financial crisis, right?
Mm.
So what were your learnings during that time that you joined until the pre-pandemic era in terms of crisis management?
Well, a lot of lessons I've learned in how to deal maybe personally and through work as well in dealing with it, is really just taking it one step at a time.
All right.
It's something I learned from my father. It's really okay. There's this huge worldwide phenomena, right, for the finance crash and all of this. It's really one step at a time. What's going on with the banks? What's going on with the suppliers? What's going on with the customers? So it's really focusing, looking at it, and coming up with a solution, coming up with managing like the cash flow, managing to purchase, to buy, and then putting in the product in the store, and then of course managing the people, helping them get through the situation, and just taking it a little bit, little by little, until you can get to the solution. So that's one of the things that we learned. And of course, getting people to come, and your team, having a good team, putting in place in the different functional areas of the company, that really helped. And that also served to help not panic so much when the pandemic came, right? So I think that's a really good benefit from having gone through a couple of crises back then when the company was starting.
Okay, we're going to talk about the pandemic and the impact, but I'd like first to talk about management styles. Okay, Mr. Bello, how would you describe yourself as a manager in about 5 words?
Actually, I'm a actually I am do. So you see, when you started small, basically you've done all things. No, you manage your people. So for me, I go for some sort of a micro for it. No? So direct to those people. If they have a problem, I usually go down and directly talk to them. No, so that way you can let can let them know, no, what's the problem and what kind of solution that that has expected of them. No? So that's my style. Then eventually we grow, no, and well, actually the thing started there, no, as a micro, and then eventually you grow, no, you somehow relax a little bit and then rely on all your managers and all that to do all these things. So. And also for me, it's some sort of a it's into my system actually. Every time I went to a shop, I went to a store, I would always try to look for some problems if there is, and try to call the attention of each concern. So I try to be more to the point, no? Where there's a problem, I would rather be my be there and be able to help and to solve it.
Okay, Lorraine, how would you describe your management style?
So my style is a little bit different. Obviously, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's much easier, like the way my dad does it when you're smaller. But obviously, when it's a larger organization, I find that the way I'm gravitating towards is more a collaborative
Okay.
style. And we have a lot of very competent and very talented leaders in our organization. And I find that collaboration and teamwork is something that I'm trying to, not trying, but really pushing as a culture in the organization, because you can't solve, one person can't solve everything. And it's not just the CEO, or it's not just, that one talented person. It's really the heads of everybody for their and their collective experiences, especially our founder, of course, in being able to come up with whatever solutions or whatever strategies we need to move the company forward. And that's how I'm managing.
Okay. Now, learning from each other, right? Mr. Bello, Lorraine said she learned from you taking it one step at a time. But working with Lorraine, what did you learn from her?
Well, like what she just said, no, collaborative, no, because as we grow, no, we cannot just be, because one person cannot do all the things on your own, no. So basically, that is also the one that I had to adapt, no, and I'm in adapting that we gradually, Actually, we have to have different department, different people. Like we just said, we have a lot of, in fact, most of our executives, most of our top management people, in fact, I would say 99% of them come from the ranks. So all of them rose from the ranks. So most of them come well, directly working under me, some sort. No, so as the company grow, now these people within the organization grow with the company. Now, so from the SVP down to the simple supervisor, so all these are within the come from the ranks. So now it's basically with close to, I think, 8,000 people for the company. Definitely, I cannot, although fortunately I'm somehow semi-retired, so I'm no longer actually looking at the day-to-day operations. Of course, that the operation or the learning is basically what Lorraine just said. No, just you just have to, let your management people do the job and just basically, look at what they're doing. Yeah. And of course, another part that I have a problem is with the IT.
Okay, IT. All right.
So I just let these young people, do it.
Okay, let's talk about that. There are three generations in the workforce. Okay, baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, and now Gen Z. So how do you work with those three generations to make sure you're a powerful company to contend with? Let's start off with Mr. Bello, and then Lorraine can come in after. Mr. Bello.
Well, in our case, like I said, now the all the management team that we have now are basically coming from the ranks. So you see the older generations or the more senior parts, actually they got through all the learnings way from the ranks up now. So they know all the ins and outs of the system of the operations. And then we have the second, the younger generation or the junior managers. These are well, they have a young, they have a different sets of ideas or different knowledge up to the even younger ones. Now they are more on IT savvy now because the gradual now the different generation actually has a different strength that they have. No? So you're basically try to get them and get their what do you call it their their strength. No? So being a senior, being experienced, now being good in sales, being good in management, so that somehow that you harness their potentials, down to the junior where you use the senior to really uh, give the knowledge or the know-how, to these the younger ones that's coming on board. So similarly, the younger generation are a little bit slow on the IT part, with the young ones that they are more focusing on the technical parts of the like the IT and all that. So we are not actually using them to making them to make in the change of the different ideas. Now, whatever that this young generation knows, these would try to get to tell them to somehow what share the knowledge on the IT and all that stuff. So this is the way I think the way that you can you enhance the whole company. Yeah.
Okay. And there will be peace in the company if it's managed properly, if the generations are managed properly. Lorraine, your comments on intergenerational dynamics.
Right. So we have actually from baby boomers until Gen Z. So
Right.
it's four generations. And good point that my father mentioned leveraging their strengths. So each generation went through a different time, right, and different strengths. And I feel that it's a challenge right now because many feel we're out of our comfort zone because suddenly there's these Gen Z, there's these super tech savvy. Maybe we're a little bit, I wouldn't say intimidated, but are a little bit taken aback by how they are and how they interact or how they engage. And so employee engagement is very important, culture and everything. So what we're facing, especially with our HR, is how do we engage with them, learn from them, and like maybe think about we should be a little bit we should be at ease with being outside our comfort zone because we, as let's say we're at the management team, we're the managers, we're comfortable with a certain way of doing things, and then there are these young ones like the Y and Z. They're like, this is how we want to do it, this is how things are done. And it's just this openness that we were trying, or we're wanting to implement, or not implement, but we're wanting to come across as our culture, that we have to we have to come together in harmony. We have to come together and play on each other's strengths to have better collaboration again. There,
Yes.
that's the goal right there. Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting answer. Collaboration, being at ease, and accepting that you have to get out of your comfort zone also. Correct. Now, is there any particular part of the company that you enjoy more than others, Mr. Bello? Is there any particular part, like sourcing, marketing, operations? If you had a choice, what would you rather do?
Yeah, for me is I'm more comfortable with the sourcing. Yeah,
Okay.
because that's my actually my forte. No. Yeah.
Okay, how about you, Lorraine? Is there any particular function that you'd rather be doing if you're made
So
to?
I did say I wanted to teach previously. So
Okay.
my kind of passion right here in the company is our training, learning, and development
Okay.
department. So I'm channeling my sort of frustrated ambitions towards the company, and I think that's good, right? I'm
That's
getting an
right.
outlet, and I also enjoy sourcing. It's very interesting to find products and bring it into the Filipinos, and find our customers feel very excited for the new products that that come from everywhere, and we're not behind, like we're ahead in terms of trends for home and everything. So that's really it's really fun actually. I find work in Wilcon fun because I'm able to channel these passions I have.
You brought up an interesting point, sourcing. How do you make decisions on sourcing? Is it what you want, or do you do research, or you just see what's out there and let's see what we can make people want? Mr. Bello, then Lorraine.
Actually, sourcing is actually you see we are in this line of business, so it's so many years of experience that you have, and then so many things that you saw, and then you see how the Filipinos, the way they buy things, the way they choose products. So somehow you develop, the idea, or develop the sense of the taste of the items that's being what, bought by our consumers. No? So somehow you got that, and then once you got into the exhibit, got to the fair, so somehow you can already start relating. Now there's a lot of products now that's coming up, but especially now that there's a lot of Western, most of these products actually come from West, either from Europe or from US. Now, so the fortunate thing is Filipinos, we are more westernized in a way, no? due to American influence. So we adapted very fast with the European standards and American standards. No? So for us, it's as long as we know the basic requirements or the basic ideas, the things that are being looked for by our consumers. No? It's not very hard, to get to know what kind of products that we can bring into the market.
Okay, so it's all from experience of what's
Yeah,
moving.
from experience.
Lorraine, your take on making sourcing decisions.
I have a story there. I remember I went on a sourcing buying trip to a supplier with my dad, and we had some buyers with us. It was quite a while back, and I remember this one young manager. He was saying, "I like this design." Right, so you're choosing, right, and then my dad chose these designs, but he didn't choose that design that this manager said. And then my dad was saying, no, that's not going to work, right? So
Okay.
but he's like, yeah, let's try. If you want, we can try it. So like it's sometimes it's a bit of an art choosing, right? And so what happened was we purchased all those designs, and then I remember we went back and looked at the sales, and the
Okay.
designs that my father chose were moving, but the
All right.
design that that manager chose wasn't really moving.
Okay. And the
So,
learning there is,
so it's experience. It's really getting the feel of
yeah.
the market. And I also remember another story when I was in the fair and I was telling him, I don't know how to choose. I only know the products I think I like, right? And I remember him telling me, it's really with experience. You have to keep doing it. You'll get a feel for it. Look at the sales, look at what moves, connect it, and then every year you go, you'll gain that knowledge, and then you'll get a feel for it. And it's those two stories. It's true. That's
But it's more intuitive more than
Yeah.
yes.
research or science based. Is there a place for research when you do sourcing?
I think there's a science part of it.
Yeah.
There's a science part of it in the sense that, let's say, tile, it's very
Okay.
technical. It can be very technical, right? When
Okay.
there's porcelain, when there's ceramic. So that's the research part of it.
All right.
Like, can it withstand very humid, very hot, very cold? There's all this science to that, like stains. But when it comes to design, I
Right.
think that's more intuitive, right? That's more experience and intuitive. So it's a balance, it's a mix, right? So we have very technical products, but these products also have design elements to them that may be a little bit more intuitive, a little more gut feel. So it's a balance, really.
All right. Um, you had a milestone in 2017. You had an IPO. Not many Filipino retailers go into an IPO. What were your thoughts before going to the IPO? Why did you want to go into an IPO? Let's start off with Mr. Bello, and then I will go to Lorraine. Sir.
Well, number one is for what do you call that? That's for some sort of don't you see the company is getting big, and you see actually the Philippines has a big potential still to the company to grow. No? So this is more for the succeeding generation, some sort of a. Also, we open it up the market, so that way everything becomes transparent, and so it will be easier, no, for the next generation. No, if like okay, the second generation now is working now in the company. We don't know whether the third generation would wanted to join the company or the fourth generation now. So this is some sort of a planning for the long term. So what is the term for that? And the key is we once we publicly said everything works on its the right part, no? So everything is transparent. So in case in the one of the generations, none of the family member was willing to take over the business, then we can professionalize the business and get some professional to run the business. So the continuity for the continuity of the business.
Okay, so that's your way of succession planning.
Yeah, some sort of succession plan.
Okay. Lorraine, I know you were deep into the preparation for the IPO and leading it through. So how did you feel about it doing the IPO? Meaning it's not going to be family already. You'll have many shareholders.
Yeah, so it was with quite some fear and hesitation, as I'm sure many retailers,
Yes,
probably the ones who think, now maybe should I, shouldn't I?
yes.
And it's very natural, to fear and to hesitate. But I feel that it was really, I think it was a good decision. And I think it's a good thing that we went public. And it's given us a lot of I suppose, discipline, right? Because we are more regulated. We need to have more governance as a private company, and I mean not as a private, but as a
As a
public company,
public
right? So
health.
there's more governance there. So I feel that it made our company stronger, more organized, and we have all these regulators that we have to report to, and that helped us as a company in looking at how to organize in being more growth oriented, because obviously the IPO proceeds, we use them to expand the business, right? We were not too many stores, and now we're 65, right? And we want to hit 100 stores, and that really helped us in further expanding and gaining more market share. So it's really been very helpful for us, and it's really worked for us as a family business, as a company, and as a retailer to go public.
Okay. And I thank you for your candor on that one, because I know many retailers now are wondering whether should they start letting go and become professional, or should they start becoming a public company. Okay. So there. Now, the pandemic has been with us for almost a year in a few weeks. And let's now talk about the impact of the pandemic. Let's start off first. How did the pandemic affect you personally? Mr. Bello, how did the pandemic affect you personally first?
For me, actually not so much per se for me, because after the IPO, somehow I can cut down my work load by more than 50%. No, so basically I don't spend too much time actually in office. So in effect, now that staying home is good actually, and actually I have more. Actually, it give me more time actually to develop my passion. My passion is to have a farm, some sort of a getaway farm. No,
Okay.
not for business, and but rather for weekend, for relaxations and all that. No, in fact, with what had happened is I was able to actually spend more time doing a small farm that I have in Silang. No, planting to different forest trees, getting a lot of different kinds of fruit trees, and develop that area into a nice, some sort of a weekend getaway. So somehow it gave me that the opportunity actually to do that.
So you had an escape area now, a haven that you're developing.
It became a weekend treat factory for me.
Okay. Lorraine, how about you? How did the pandemic affect you personally?
I think it was overwhelming for me
Okay.
because I faced a bit of mental stress as well,
Right.
because I'm a mother. I had to
Right.
manage my daughter's schooling, and there's also this family business. And even if you ask, it's a personal, how were you personally? Wilcon is personal to me because it's a family business. So that also kind of weighed on my mind. What about the employees?
Right.
What about not being able to manage? What if somebody gets sick? So those things were also weighing on my mind.
It's like you're a mother not only to your daughter but to 8,000 employees.
Yeah, because it's
Correct.
it's our family business. So that
Right.
was also a bit of a challenge for me as well.
We asked the question because it's not the easy. I don't think we had, Mr. Bello, I don't think we ever had this kind of crisis. As Stephen Tan was told us, it's like the mother of all crises.
Yes.
so
Yeah, right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's no playbook for it, as
Yes.
Stephen said. So they were all learning as we go through. They all go through it together. Now, let's talk about the impact of the pandemic on your business and how you cope with it, because it's been almost a year. um, did you have to stop work? Did you have to close stores? Maybe you can share and then tell us about your learnings too from the pandemic. Mr. Bello and then Lorraine.
Yeah, we are forced to close for 2 months now, from March, I think mid March until mid May, for 2 months. So practically the business becomes standstill at that time. No? But well, the number one objective for us is to really, look after the people that all employees that we have, making sure that they are taken care of. Like, okay, we continue to provide their salaries. So that way, we don't want to let them dislocate the family. They really have to take care of their family. Uh, and then before we think about that, we have to start preparing, what's to follow the guideline for the government as to what to do in case eventually we'll be allowed to open again the business. So those are the things that we feel that we have to.
Okay. Lorraine, being on ground, what were the things you had to do to cope with the pandemic for your company?
Yes, my father mentioned about the employees. So that was really one of the biggest things, the fear. Many people were afraid, and as you mentioned, there's no playbook, right? And we really had to kind of play it by ear. But the first thing we had to do was really assure our employees their salaries and ensuring that our offices and our stores were all safe. So we had to do the protocols.
Okay. But what were your learnings from this pandemic? Were there opportunities that came out from the pandemic? I was looking at your briefing sheet, and it seems that the sales were buoyant despite.
Yeah, so we noticed that different categories were performing differently. Like there was a lot more homestay, right?
Right. Right.
You're schooling, you are cooking more, you're using your house more, and we saw that there were more soft lines like maybe houseware appliances. Like previously, maybe you used your toaster or your microwave oven maybe once a day, but now you have to use it 5 times a day because you have to feed your kids,
That's
and
right.
right, everybody has to open the refrigerator door more times nowadays. So, a lot of people were buying more soft lines like quick DIY products,
Right.
and it really helped because when we put in our protocols in place, people felt safer when they went to our stores versus the smaller home improvement type places. So really, that was kind of an advantage for us, though we're not strictly the essentials. Like we're not. And remember the first wave, right? It was just the
Right.
drugstores and
And the supermarket.
the supermarkets. We were in the second wave, but when we opened, it was really like, hey, we need to replace our bulbs. We need to replace a lot of different things. And I'm sure um, people were really realizing, hey, Wilcon is an essential. So that really helped us. So we feel very, very fortunate that we're in this space and that we can afford to open our doors and people are willing to come to our Wilcon stores. So that was really very fortunate for us.
Okay. Mr. Bello, your take on learnings from the pandemic.
Well, uh, you just have to really be ready always. No, and this, as you said, this is the you the like as I said, I started 1977. We passed through so many crises, no, and this is the actually the number one that I don't think there's going to be a bigger one going to happen here, no. So not unless you are when you that's why when you do things, you have to really make sure that you always have a fallback, no, that in just in case things like this happens, and you'll be ready. And given that we have passed through several crises, and we know that we cannot just say do everything at one no, at one shot, no, but you have to really prepare, no, for in case of things like this happens, you are ready. No? So that's the most critical, the most important is you have to make sure that in crisis like this happens, then you have something to, this is the fallback for you.
Did digital help during this pandemic? Any of you can answer.
Yeah, I think Lorraine can answer that. We actually
Lorraine,
on the digital. And the online selling, that.
Yes, so we launched our browse, call, and collect, right? And even now we have live shopping. Like, I mean, you can connect to the stores using Messenger or Viber, and you can do live, like going through the store. I think that really helped to connect with the customers. We also have a website where people can browse the products and they can just connect and call for the products they want to buy, and then they just come in. So it's really, been very helpful for sales, being able to connect to the customers. And the other side of it is the support system as well, because Zoom just blew up basically, right? What the platform that we're using, video conferencing, and that helped to connect all our support to be able to support, to be able to help our frontliners, right? So all this digitalization was really, really very helpful, because we also did learning, right? We also did learning digitally. We had to train people how to manage social media, how to manage Viber messaging. All of these things was really quite useful for us, because customers were trying to find different ways of connecting to us without really needing to come to the store, right? Or lessening the time that it takes for them to transact in our stores. And I'm sure all the retailers, I'm sure they can relate to this. Many customers now, the behavior is, I come in, I get what I want, and I go out. They don't really stay very long in the stores. And this digitalization really helped us, and that's why it's really still one of our thrusts this year, to continue to beef up our infrastructure for that, so that we can, at the end of it, it's really to connect to our customers, with our customers.
And I also saw in your briefing, in the Maybank briefing, that you are going to expand by 9 stores despite the pandemic.
Yes, we've already opened 2 stores this year, and hopefully we will open, everything going well. We'll open another 7 this year.
My last 2 questions. Do you think e-commerce will replace brick and mortar? Mr. Bello, then Lorraine.
Well, in our case, it's going to complement, but replacing totally, it's a bit difficult on the line.
Okay.
Because you see, a lot of products that we are selling is that really you need to see it, especially on the color, on the designs. Now you cannot. It's very difficult for you to look at the colors or look at the design just only on the screen. No? So physical still, that you still have to go for it.
So complement is the operating word.
Yeah.
Lorraine, your thoughts on e-commerce?
Yes, of course. He's right. It's more omni-channel approach rather than e-commerce only, because the products that we sell, you commit to it. You commit to how your bathroom will look like. You commit to how your dining room will look like. And so I don't think that's a decision that's very easily made just looking at the photo online. It's something you look at a photo online, you come to the store, take a look, sit down on it, see if it's nice, and then you transact it. And that's how we're positioning our omni-channel strategy. It's really a connection between the online, and the offline. So it's just really much more accelerated online now because of the pandemic. But that's really been the way we want to move forward in our omni-channel strategy. And I'm sure, as someone maybe who has renovated or has done some improvements, it's not very easy to just decide on, let's say, a 50,000 or 100,000 peso purchase for your bathroom, right? You don't do that just online, right? You have to do a lot of seeing. Do you feel that this is a nice, design for you?
And that those tactile sensations don't come in online.
Yeah.
You really
Yeah.
have to be. It's an offline experience. Okay, my last question. What are your words of advice for our viewers for the next 6 months? Mr. Bello? It's a crystal ball question.
Yeah. You know, we gradually actually now we are expecting the vaccine to come
Okay.
in first quarter, as the government said. I think we got expecting something like 6 million something for buyers coming in. But I even with the initial vaccines coming in, I don't see any improvement or any chance of this pandemic can be gone in the next 6 months or even a year. No, I think it's going to stay with us at least for the next 2 3 years more. No? So for the next 6 months, basically, so we just have to not stay on with what we've been doing the past year. No, when the pandemic hit us, we just have to continue. No, do what the best for us. No, but still have to continue practicing all these procedures or safe procedures. No, that the government require us to do, and yeah, basically that's it. No, and I don't see even for us as a retailer, I don't see any abrupt change or a big improvement. No, that we'll be expecting in the next 6 months. So just do what is best for each of us. Now, for the kind of business that you are in, I think that's it. No?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bella, for those insights. Lorraine, your take on the next 6 months.
6 months, yes, recovery is going to be very slow. We see it in all the retailers, especially like food, right? It's going to be slow. It's really just trying to manage the situation. However, whatever happens, we hope the vaccination program will be successful. But obviously, we cannot just rely on that. For us, it's really still where there's still a market where we can move forward and progress. We'll still take it. I think also as retailers, wherever there's opportunity, let's take a hold of it. And maybe beyond 6 months, if you feel that you still want to look into perhaps going public, I think maybe that should be something that's just still be on the table. This pandemic won't last forever. May not be the last, of course. It's who knows what happens in life, but I think take opportunity and continue to move forward. Not stagnating, keeping still. That's kind of the recipe for failure. I think just keep moving.
Keep moving. That's very true. Just have to get on with it so the economy will survive.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Bello, Lorraine, thank you so much for spending time with us. Very insightful, very candid conversation. I'm sure our listeners and our viewers will pick up many insights that will be helpful to their business. Again, in behalf of Let's Talk Retail, the Philippine Retailers Association, thank you very much. And to our listeners and our viewers, thank you very much for joining us again for Let's Talk Retail of the digital initiative, the Philippine Retailers Association. Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe.